Texas Math Mundo audience, are we in store for a truly spectacular treat today? In the house, Dr. Evan O'Doherty. Now, Dr. O'Doherty was the 2007 Scripps National Spelling Bee champion, the 2011 Intel Science Talent Search top winner, and a 4-time IMO medalist, 2 times gold, 2 times silver, amongst many other great accomplishments. Dr. Evan O'Doherty, right ahead. Now, let me take a quick moment and ask that if you enjoy this content, that you please hit the subscription button and the notification bell, that you leave a comment below, and that you smash that like button. Let's spread this joy, let's spread this beauty to as many people as possible. The impressive Dr. Evan O'Doherty, right ahead. My name is Saul Cantu, and this is Texas Math Mundo. Are we in store for a special treat today? In the house, Dr. Evan O'Doherty. Dr. O'Doherty was the 2007 Scripps National Spelling Bee champion. In 2011, he was the top winner of the Intel Science Talent Search. He is a 4-time IMO medalist, 2 silver, 2 gold, with a second place individual finish in 2010. He is a 3-time Putnam Fellow. He has his PH.D. from Princeton University. He is a co-writer of a book, the 4th volume of Putnam Problems and Solutions. Currently, he is a visiting assistant professor at the University of Notre Dame. And this is amongst a host of other accomplishments. Quite an impressive resume, and I'm so humbled, I'm so appreciative to introduce to you Dr. Evan O'Doherty. Welcome, Dr. Evan O'Doherty.
Hello, thank you for the introduction. It's great to be on here.
Oh man, this is a real treat. Your resume is so impressive, and my audience is sure to really enjoy this session. Let's start off by just asking, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Keeping busy?
Always busy. In fact, right now I'm helping out with the grading of the USA Math Olympiad.
Really?
So, yeah. So I've, although I graduated high school in 2011, I've kept up with the Olympiads. And while I was an undergrad at Harvard, I would always go to MIT to help out with the grading. It's always around this time of year, and there's about 500 competitors, and each of us graders just gets assigned one problem, and as part of a team of graders to mark the problems for each one. And each problem is graded on a scale from 0 to 7. And so with those partial credits, 1 to 6, there can be a lot of subtlety in what the rubric says and how much any particular bit of progress gets.
Hey, well, with you on the case, a former great Olympian yourself, they got the right person on the job. So you still keep involved with competitive mathematics. That's awesome.
Yep, there are a lot of former Olympians who stay on the grading team through the years.
Oh, wow.
So it's always kind of a bit of a reunion, although they started doing it online during COVID and liked it so much because they can attract twice as many graders as if they had done it in a particular location. They're sticking with that format.
Sure. But, I'm sure the face-to-face and the bonding, that's a little lacking then. But still, they got some guys.
Yep.
Awesome. Hey, so...
And I keep... Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, please.
Oh, yeah. And I keep up with my research. So I'm a postdoc at Notre Dame. So I I'm currently working on an algebraic geometry project, actually, with a professor here, although my main interest is number theory. And so it's a problem that's kind of on the interface of algebraic geometry and number theory because it deals with stuff modulo p. And so I've always just been drawn by any kind of problem where you can find patterns, where you can look at you can program the computer to generate a lot of examples in in whatever the problem is, and then you can just kind of stare at it. And the more you look, the more that you see.
Wow, so you're actively doing mathematics. Hey, I have a question. Is mathematics in your heart? Is it in your heart?
Heart. Well, God gave me a gift. I'm good at mathematics, and He also gave me a love for the subject. And
Awesome,
so
awesome,
I
awesome.
keep it up.
Wow, so I'm going to delve deeper into your story. But before we get into that, is it all work and no play? What are your hobbies and interests? And I read somewhere that you're quite the piano player.
Yeah, so I do rest from my mathematical work by making music. So I've composed lots of pieces, some for the piano, some for bigger ensembles. And right now, I'm the director of a small choir in the house that I live in. We've got about 20 guys, some of them Notre Dame undergrads, some of various ages, and so we have a choir, and we have a running joke that because we have a bear in our living room. It's a wooden sculpture. We call our choir the baritones.
That's great. That's great. Wow.
And so we sing at things like birthdays. For instance, one of the residents is going to have a birthday party tonight, but he's in the baritones, so we're not going to be singing.
Well, that sounds like fun, man. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Is it true you composed a song to help memorize the digits of pi?
Yes. So, um, so the digits of pi or any number, you can associate to each digit from 0 to 9 a step of the musical scale. So we're used to the major scale: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then you can add a 9 above that and a 0 below the 1. And then if you have any number, then it becomes some sequence of notes. But then the challenge is now you've got a random sequence of notes. And so the question is, can you put rhythm to it and can you put harmony to it so that it makes it somehow coherent?
Can you give us a taste, or is that too much to ask?
Maybe after the interview, we'll go
Okay.
down to the piano room
All
and I
right.
can play samples of some of my songs.
All right. All right. I appreciate that. That sounds like so much fun. So I want to get some insight into the way your great brain works, and I want to know where you come from. So where were you born and raised?
I was born in Washington State, Seattle, and raised there until I was 4. And we moved down to San Francisco area, about 45 minutes east of Berkeley, in Danville, California. And that's where I've been raised. And so, um, yeah, and so my mom homeschooled me. She knew from an early age that I had promise, especially with my love of numbers. And so she took it upon herself to homeschool me. She herself had worked as a high school math tutor before I was born. So she knew algebra and the basics of calculus. And so she taught it all to me. And I was just like a sponge with all of this.
Was there a particular incident or episode where you realized that, hey, I got mathematical talent?
Well, she could see it because I was just so very young. But for instance, when I was 2, she had a set of addition flashcards that she'd come by where it's like one side of the card says 4 plus 9, and then you turn it over and it gives the answer. And I just found this to be a wonderful game. And so I learned all my additions and eventually my multiplications in that way by the time that I was 3.
That's wonderful. How she saw your talent and took great efforts to foster that talent. So your homeschooling experience, you enjoyed that?
Yeah, and I think there was no other way. So when I was younger, I had symptoms of mild autism that you can see if you look at the videos of me on the internet when I was younger. And so things like friendship were not natural to me. And so I really needed the time to mature. I needed the individualized attention that I would get from her, the schooling in math in a very accelerated way, and also the chance to develop as far as relations with my peers just a little bit at a time, because she made sure that we made friends with other families. There was one family where we got along well, and so it's like the us two boys, we would play. He was also an only child, and so we would play. He had sometimes different interests. He wanted to be a fireman. The last thing I heard, he actually is. Um, but but it was like my mom would teach the other boy the basics of piano, while his mother would teach me a bit of French.
Well, as the father of an autistic son, so this
Mm-hmm.
really interests me. This really component of you. So you believe as time has progressed, have you matured, that you become more socially skillful?
Yeah, it's taken a lot of work.
Okay,
And
wow.
I would say that the first time I experienced friendship in the fullness of the word, because you mean you can have friends as a kid, which are just people that you play games with. But friendship in the fuller sense of somebody that you can lean on, confide in, get interested in,
Yeah.
that's a treasure. And I can't say that I really experienced it until I was about 19 or 20. See, there was this fellow at Harvard who founded a rosary group on campus. And I'd seen the ads for it. He would broadcast on the general Catholic listserv when rosary would be held and where. We would meet in different dining halls. And about the second time when it was held in my dining hall, I came along and I started talking more to this young man. And I learned that he was also homeschooled. He'd also come from autism, and and so we realized that we had a lot in common. And so I started going to rosary very regularly, and it was a blessing, because no matter how busy my day had been, I could be there and share whatever had been going on with him. And so that was the beginnings, knowing what a treasure friendship is. And so from then on, I've I've sought it out wherever I've gone.
Well, that's fantastic. Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. What a journey. But it might be like integral part of your genius nature, man. I'm sure you have this inordinate ability to concentrate on problem solving and to isolate yourself and to really work very thoroughly as part of your nature.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of great mathematicians have been a little bit wacky, and I think that there are certain advantages to being uh, the sort who comes by social graces in an unnatural way, you might
Yeah.
say.
Wow. Wow. So I do want to talk about your Olympiad experience.
Yeah.
Tell me about your experiences at the Olympiad. Um, did you be able? Were they very memorable? What was the most memorable thing about the Olympiad experience?
um, Probably going to Kazakhstan and hearing Kazakh folk music.
Really?
And yeah.
What is it about
So
Kazakh folk music that really struck you?
for instance, they have an instrument called the dombra, and it's like a guitar, but it only has two strings. And the strings are usually tuned a fourth apart, so like doom doom. And what they do is they can use one string as a drone, so just keep it as a constant tone and play a melody by running your finger up and down the other string. And then you can switch off which string is for that. And you can also play bar chords, so you play parallel fourths up and down the fingerboard. And these were all techniques that were common in medieval Europe, but in Kazakhstan, they're still alive.
Wow, wow. So there was also, so it was a cultural experience, not just a math competition, but a
Yeah,
colorful experience.
it was. Yeah. And for instance, they gave me a bit of kumis, which is their national drink. And think of mixing beer, milk, and fruit juice.
What a combination. Was it good?
It's no,
No.
but it was memorable.
Wow, wow, wow. And also your experience with the spelling bee. So you got like both sides of the brain going or something. How was your experience with spelling bee?
Yeah, so I've always been a good speller, and so my mother encouraged me to enter a spelling bee, to find one. Because I was homeschooled, it was hard to find even a spelling bee that I could legitimately enter. But she convinced the school where I was enrolled, it's called Venture School. It's a kind of alternative education school that has various opportunities, including a home study program. But and so Venture held a little spelling bee, and thereby I was able to compete in the regional spelling bee, and and then uh, I was in the regionals starting in fourth grade. I sent you one picture of me at a microphone being very young. That was my first regional spelling bee. And then in sixth grade, I qualified for nationals. And when I was eliminated in the nationals and still having 2 years of eligibility, I was seized with the drive to do better. And so what we ended up doing was going through the dictionary. So the spelling bee has an official dictionary, Webster's Third, and they and so we went through basically 12 pages a day was enough to get through the whole thing. And then we would spend the weeks leading up to the bee studying the words because we would fill big notebooks with words that I did not know. And we had certain priorities because we knew that there were certain kinds of words that they favored and some that they disfavored. So words with really unusual definitions, like I was asked the word shoe plottler in the in the bee, and it's this dance where the woman dances gracefully and the man dances wildly around her. And so you read something like that in the dictionary, and you know they would go for this. Whereas there are all these entries that are just like a genus of trees, or an Indian people of North America, or a mineral, and you're like, they probably won't go for this. Although they've been going more for those in recent years because there are too many kids who know all of the juicy words.
You know, with the spelling bee, your Olympiad experience, the Intel Science Talent Search, you know, were
Yeah.
these joyful experiences or stressful experiences or a combination of both?
Well, they had elements of all things. So I remember when I was in spelling bee, there was a certain crisis where we were halfway through the dictionary. And I just said to my mom, I've been reflecting on this and I think this is madness. I think that we need to spend more time around other people rather than just plowing through the dictionary day after day. And she basically said to me, we've been doing this, we've gotten halfway, we should do the other half. And I'm thankful that she helped me to persevere.
And do these same elements of perseverance and persistence, they help you with your math journey?
Oh, of course. Yep. So it is a gift that I'm able to persevere with research. And I'm the sort of person, there are some people who like to keep two or three math problems in the air at the same time so that when they get stuck on one, they can work on another one. I've never been that sort. I like to find one problem that's good and let it just eat me up.
Really? Wow. Eat you up, consume you.
Yeah.
Hey, so you know, along this journey, I know your mother was a very pivotal, vital person. Do you want to make
Yeah.
any other shout outs to any other individuals, peers, or anybody that might have inspired you along the way? Any shout outs?
I don't know if I'd be comfortable because whatever list I made, there would be some people left out.
Okay, I
I mean,
understand.
you can read the acknowledgement section on my doctoral thesis, for example. It's got a quite a long list.
Okay, cool, cool, and well thought out and thoroughly thought out acknowledgement there.
Yeah.
All right, cool. That's fair enough. Fair enough. Where do you keep your medals, your Olympiad medals?
Oh, we've got a filing cabinet back home that has permanent things like passports and birth certificates and savings bonds, and it's got the medals in it
Oh,
too.
hey, you've got to publicly display these, man. These are quite incredible accomplishments. I'm sure they would enhance or adorn any wall that they were adhered to. So,
Yeah, you'd think. Yep, it seems like even without me displaying them, people come up to me and say, "Are you that Evan O'Dorney?"
yes, exactly, exactly. Hey, so where did you go to college and what did you study?
I did my undergrad at Harvard,
Okay.
and I've always studied math, but I did a minor in music also. That was kind of a respite from my math classes. But I made sure to enroll in music classes that weren't about the totally wacky music that modern composers have made.
Really, really.
And even so, there was a bit of that.
And so, do you think your Olympiad spelling, all those things, they helped you on your journey through college?
Yeah, I mean, some of the skills are universal. The ability to concentrate, the ability to keep on even when I don't score perfectly on every assessment. Hmm.
What areas are involved in your research? Do you currently have a problem that's consuming you?
Yeah, so this problem. So Claudio Raiku is an algebraic geometer at the University of Notre Dame, where I am now.
Okay.
And he gave a talk last year where he explained about this bit of research that he had done with one of his graduate students. And sometimes it just happens that I see a problem in a conference or in a talk like this, and I say to myself, this is very attractive, and I think that I could make a mark in this field as well. And so that was what happened there. It took a while to get started on it because I had other projects that I was wrapping up. But now that I'm free to do so, I've been working on this problem, and I've been working on it for maybe 3 weeks, maybe a month, and already I'm starting to see new stuff.
Really? Wow, that research journey, that creative journey, that's it's quite a journey, I would imagine. Wow.
Yeah, I never know sometimes how these problems are going to end. So, for instance, when I did my thesis, the way that it happened was a bit amusing. I was finishing up my undergrad at Harvard, and I knew I wanted to go to graduate school. And I applied to Princeton because that was one of the places I was strongly considering. And when I came to visit Princeton, I asked my Harvard senior thesis advisor to introduce me to Professor Manjul Bhargava because I wanted to do my thesis under him if I was going to go there. And I wrote to Manjul and said, I'll be in Princeton on such and such a day. Would you like to meet with me? And he wrote back, said he was scheduled to be at Harvard on that same day. So it wasn't clear if or when we'd be able to see each other. However, when the day rolled around, there was a big snowstorm that struck the Northeast. And my train to Princeton made it just fine, but his flight to Boston was canceled.
Oh, so you got to
So
see
there,
each other at Princeton?
yeah, it was very providential. I got to see him, and he was there in his office on the 12th floor of Fine Hall with a fine view, and the snow was falling all around us. And I asked him, if I'm to come to Princeton, what kind of problem might I work on? And he gave a problem about running the quadratic formula backward, as I like to say. And I was flabbergasted. I've seen a lot of number theory problems, and I've never seen one quite so beautiful. And so I was hooked on it, and I basically spent the next 6 years solving it.
What's the title of your thesis?
Reflection theorems for number rings. I wanted to make it at least short enough that people like you could repeat it.
All right, all right. That's good stuff. Good stuff. All right. So, all these competitions, this journey, what do you value the most about your competitive journey?
What do I value? Well, I value this gift that God has given me, this aptitude for mathematics. And these competitions are a way to show everyone that math is beautiful and who has the skills to do it.
Yes. Wow. Yes, that's a great thing to value. Wow. Now, a lot of high school students in particular, but a lot of youth come across my channel. What advice can you offer a young student that may come across this interview?
Well, for one thing, don't shy away from the big questions. I mean, math is a wonderful field of study, but in one sense, all the questions that it asks are kind of little. It deals with numbers and shapes, and things that in general we understand. But as a human being, we have to ask the big questions. Why are we here? What makes things good? What should I do with my time? What will the world eventually come to? And if we stuff these questions, they'll eventually recur because we are human beings. And as a practicing Roman Catholic, I'm blessed to have answers in some sense to some of these questions. But of course, there will always be new things to discover, as well as new ways to grow in practicing the virtue, being a good person, bringing good ideas to other people. And so, yep, never shy away from the big questions.
Great advice, man. So, you've already amassed quite an impressive resume. What does the future hold for you, Dr. Evan O'Doherty?
Well, it's hard to see very far into the future, but I'm finishing up my postdoc at Notre Dame, which I'm very thankful to be at. And in the fall, I'm starting a new postdoc. It's 3 years at Carnegie Mellon University,
Wow.
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And I know a couple of people there, and I'm excited to start working there as well. But I know that I'm a good teacher, and so I want to pursue the academic track. And so I'll be looking for tenure track jobs. I applied to a lot of jobs this year, and I came very close to getting a tenure track job at Baylor University in Texas. Yep.
Not far from me.
I thought so.
Wow.
Yep. So, but who knows where I will end up.
Sure.
Math is a sort of subject that's so universal that it can be practiced anywhere, and the skills that I have can be used anywhere.
I certainly wish you joy, excitement, fulfillment as you work at Carnegie Mellon, but also in the grander scheme when you pursue a tenure track position. Certainly, I wish you the best of luck there. Certainly.
Thank you.
Dr. Evan O'Doherty, any parting words or final thoughts as we conclude this interview?
That's a tall order.
So it's anything you may want to share.
Yep.
Okay.
Don't give up, even if math can be hard. The very fact that it's a hard science, the fact that some answers are right and some are wrong, give the subject a charm. And so you should be willing to struggle for that reason. That's
a great parting thought. Math is hard, but it's also beautiful, and don't give up the struggle. I love it. That's a great parting thought, Dr. O'Doherty. I really appreciate it. Thank you. I'm in Houston, right? So if you're ever in this neck of the woods, I hope you consider me a friend. Call me up. We can go have some barbecue, or we can go do whatever you want, man. So if Houston. You're ever in this neck of the woods, you got a friend.
Sounds good.
I appreciate you, Dr. Evan O'Doherty, and I hope the future has many magnificent things in store for you.
Thank you. It was great meeting you.
Hey, take care and farewell, okay?
You too.
All right. Wow, what an incredible interview. Dr. Evan O'Doherty giving us great insight into his competitive math journey, into his growth as a human being. What a wonderful interview. Thank you, Dr. Evan O'Doherty. I truly appreciate that. Let me take a moment and ask that if you enjoy this content, that you please hit the subscription button and the notification bell, that you leave a comment below, and that you smash that like button. Let's spread this joy, let's spread this beauty to as many people as possible. I have many wonderful things in store for this channel, and I truly appreciate your support. My name is Saul Cantu, and this